Hi, I'm Tom Crawford. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Personal Protection Institute, which is a self-defense and personal protection training school founded in the United States over 20 years ago. The mission of the Personal Protection Institute, also known as PPI, is primarily to educate private citizens, law-abiding people, in how to protect themselves better against the criminal element, most especially against violent crime, which can be truly life-changing. In my professional career, which has been 30 years of working as a corrections officer, a police officer, a security consultant, a professional bodyguard, and a self-defense trainer, I am constantly asked by my students and clients one question. They come up and they say, "Tom, what should I do to make myself better protected?" That would seem like a simple question, but it's got a long answer to it. There's not a simple answer to that, even though the concepts are not difficult to understand. But honestly, I know what they're asking me. What they're typically asking me is, "Tom, what can I go buy that will make me and my family safer?" Americans especially, and that's the bulk of my students, even though I've certainly worked abroad with others, Americans love quick fixes to complicated problems, and anything that they can go to a store, swipe the credit card for, and walk out with a retail solution is usually good in their eyes. And unfortunately, self-protection and self-defense just simply doesn't work that way. Self-protection is a process, not a purchase. And so one of the things that I caution each of them who ask me this question to do, and it's also in my book that I've written for you that you can get from our website and throughout all of our materials, I caution them to begin at the beginning and put first things first. I say, you need a plan for self-protection and for living a safer life. And then you can figure out, once you've got that plan in place, general principles, then you can figure out how to best implement it in your own life, because each person's situation is a little different. And they say, well, should I take a martial arts class? Should I carry pepper spray? Should I invest in an alarm system for my home? Tom, should I get a gun and carry it? And the answer to all of those questions could be a qualified maybe, depending on their individual situation and how much time, effort, and dedication they have to putting into their own protection. But again, those approaches put the cart before the horse, and we really need to begin at the beginning, as I've said. So I'd like to expose you in our short visit today to 4 planning principles of self-defense, provided to you in order of importance. The very first one is awareness. Awareness is so important because when you're outside of the walls of your secured home, if you want to have a prayer of being safer from violent criminal attack, you need to understand their psychology and how they operate. They operate as predatory hunters, and they're hunting you much in the same way that those of us who hunt are hunting game animals. They've learned an awful lot about your habits, about your travel patterns, about the things that will draw your attention, the things that will draw you into a situation, those things that attract you, those things that repel you, and they use all of those things to your disadvantage. But the number one advantage they have is the element of surprise, and quite frankly, that's all they need with the vast majority of people. Because most people are not aware of their surroundings. They're preoccupied as they go about their activities of daily life with those things that they will be doing or those things that they have done rather than those things that they're doing right now. So let me just give you this tip to start off with. It'll make you safer on a number of fronts, not just criminal attack. If you're driving the car at the moment, concentrate on driving the car. I can't tell you how many times as a police officer I've investigated a vehicle accident, quite serious ones, and people have looked at me and said, I just wasn't paying attention. Or that car came from out of nowhere, and they try to tell me that a 3,000-pound car or 4,000-pound car suddenly appeared in the middle of an intersection and they couldn't see it. Well, they didn't see it. It's not that they couldn't see it. When I debrief individuals that have been victims of violent crimes, let's say muggings or attacks that end in forcible rapes or other unfortunate things like that, they'll say, that guy came from out of nowhere. I never saw him. That's what most of them say, and they've had an acute awareness failure. So, The very first thing that you need to resolve to do if you would really be better protected when you're outside of the walls of your secured home from violent criminal attack is to resolve to keep your head up, your eyes open, and visually scan your surroundings. Use the swing of your head. Humans have a very flexible head and neck, coupled with binocular vision, which gives us depth perception. We also have pretty good peripheral vision, too, so we can cover a lot of area using those two things visually. We also have a sense of hearing and a sense of smell, which are not as acute as most animals, but they are useful. Unfortunately, most of us in this day and age have given over those sensory inputs to attractive distractions. So, for example, let's say that you are preoccupied as you go about your business trying to walk down the street and text someone, and your attention is on the keyboard or on the display of your cell phone, reading text from them or sending text to them. You know, you're not the only one who knows you're doing that. Violent predatory criminals, muggers, rapists, stick-up artists, kidnappers, all of those people who might be in the area are watching you, and they realize that you are not in the moment with them, that you're preoccupied and you might as well be somewhere else, and that you're pitifully easy now to sneak up on. And they've got the element of surprise, which is typically all they need. Or let's say that you have the earbuds from your iPod jammed in your ears and you're listening to music at a high volume. You've just blocked off the sensory input from your auditory system, and you can't hear footsteps, you can't hear individuals approaching, you can't hear other people shouted warnings, you can't hear the squeal of brakes in a traffic accident situation that might signal an impending crash. But every day I run into people that have done just this and shut off that important sensory input. When you give up those two important senses and you do something visual that lets everybody know, good guys and bad, that you've given that up, guess what? Nobody really notices but the bad guy and those of us that are protection trained to look for those sorts of things. What I need you to do to counter that is I need you to be different from the bulk of most people. I need you to resolve when you get up from the computer having watched this video that right then you will try your best when you're outside of the walls of your secured home. And you'll notice I keep saying that. Well, your home needs to be physically secured so you can relax. You've got to have some place to let your hair down and sleep where you don't have to be in a state of hyper-awareness or hyper-vigilance, as we bodyguards call it. So the home's a little different. But when you're outside of the walls of your secured home, I need you to keep your head up. I need you to keep your visual focus moving around. I need you to watch the people around you and take notice of what they're doing. Size them up. You can almost instantly tell that a person is harmless, or you can tell that a person may not be a bad guy but makes you uncomfortable. And that's enough information. I need you to keep your auditory system open so you can hear things that are going on around you. Now, most people don't plug up their nose, so we can probably still smell. But when you pick up odd odors at close range, you should pay attention to those too. Of course, by the time you smell something, it may well be too late for you to do anything about it. So the awareness thing, keep your head up, your eyes open, and do what professional bodyguards call keeping your head on a swivel. Move it around. Maintain an erect posture, and as you walk from place to place, from your car to your office, from your office back to your car, down the stairs in a parking deck, from the shopping mall with your arms full of packages, or at least an arm full of packages so you can keep one free, as you go to your car, make it look like you are moving with purpose and have some place to be, some place where you're expected to be on time and where you'll be missed if you don't show up. These two things, the body language in combination with taking in the information, will keep you a lot safer. And I guess from your standpoint, you'll never know how many altercations you have warded off, especially with criminals of low commitment or beginning predators. It's just not worth their time, energy, effort, and risk to go after you when it's very clear that they've been spotted, when there are so many people living in what we call condition white. More on that in some of our more detailed lessons. But that's a state of blissful ignorance of one's surroundings, and that's how most people live, why they're so pitifully easy to attack. Animals in the wild that are constant food for predators do not live that way if they want to survive very long, and you can't either. So, in addition to those things, in addition to your posture, and in addition to taking in information through your senses. I also want you to broadcast some awareness messages by a very simple and specific technique. I want you to make eye contact, brief, confident eye contact, like I'm doing with you now, with everyone who comes within what I call your circle of recognition, say 50 feet or less, where you can distinguish facial features. Give them a good look. Now, this need not be challenging. This does not have to be prolonged, just long enough to let them know that they have been noticed and there's no mistaking it. For you guys, I don't want you to stare at somebody with your best Clint Eastwood squint until you provoke a fight. Don't do that. And for you girls in the audience, or ladies in the audience, I should say, I don't want that contact to be prolonged or overly friendly. Just matter of fact that you've seen them. That sends some fairly important messages to a person who may be sizing you up for a criminal attack. The first is, I see you. I know where you are and where you're coming from, and you can't sneak up on me. I'll be long gone by the time you make your move. The next message that it sends is, I got a good look at you, and if necessary, I could identify you. And the third message that it sends, which may not be totally true, but is useful disinformation to transmit, is, I'm not scared of you. And they've got to be thinking to themselves, here I am, I smell bad, I look grubby, I haven't shaved in a week, I've got long, nasty hair, you can see the consequences of my drug-induced lifestyle all over my face and body. Everybody else is scared as hell of me. How come he or she isn't? One of the things that goes through their mind, and we have confirmed this by interviews over the last 15 to 20 years in correctional facilities, is they are thinking about what you know about your situation that they don't know. They're thinking to themselves, when a person does not appear to be scared, is relaxed around them, not challenging, but relaxed, and keeping a watch on them. They're thinking, what's going on with them? Is that an off-duty police officer? Is that someone who has some special training? And in the last 15 to 20 years, since this has become a reality, especially in the United States, could that person be armed? That has distinctly altered their behavior in places where private citizen concealed carry of firearms is prevalent. So, these are the things under awareness, our first planning principle, which takes the longest to discuss. The others are fairly quick. Take in information, broadcast awareness messages. Let others know that that they have been noticed. It won't bother decent people one little bit, but it drives violent criminals nuts and drives them to seek other victims. That's unfortunate for those other people, but they have access to this information as well. So share this, not only implement it in your own life, but share it with your family. And have them start to do this right away too. And they'll be a lot better protected than if you went to the gun store, swiped your credit card, and spent $1,000 on a new pistol that you may or may not know how to use, or may not have with you when the trouble starts.